The full story will air on Checkpoint tonight at 9:30 as well as on ETV at the same time. Right now, Right2Know is demanding the price of data be made affordable to all South Africans. The group protested outside the offices of the big four cellular companies today. Let's get a bit more detail on how that unfolded. I'm joined in studio by Dale McKinley from the group. Dale, good to have you in studio.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for coming in. I want to ask you, because we've seen this fight fought in so many spaces, including Parliament, where we had a musician come out and say data must fall, and if you don't do it, we'll take action as civil society. Is anything going to come out of this picket you held today, or do you think a tougher line needs to be taken?
Well, it's a slow battle, Joanne, and we've been fighting this for the last 3 or 4 years. I mean, Thibault touch, and that was great that he did what he did, but it's going to. The prices are coming down. Data has started to come down. Some of the the prices in terms of SMSs have started to come down. So I think it's a gradual thing. And Vodacom, Cell C, and MTN have all begun, I think, to realize that the public is fed up. And I think also ICASA is beginning to feel some of the pressure, and Parliament's beginning to feel some. As we know in our country, it takes a little time to change certain things. And so we are going to continue. So we don't think that these pickets are going to be the be-all and end-all. They're part of an overall campaign that will continue until we get them to actually reduce those prices substantially.
I see that you're also asking that data bundles don't expire.
That's right.
ICASA at the same time is thinking of introducing legislation that sees a situation where they won't expire for at least 2 years.
Well, the problem with ICASA's proposals are that it largely deals with huge amounts of data. So if you've got a 500 gig package or a 200, as opposed to, let's say, 100 megs or something like this, which can expire within 24 hours. So what we're saying is do it across the board, because the vast majority of people get small amounts of data. They don't buy huge packages. So the problem with the prices is that it's discriminatory against the poor. Most of the poor don't have contracts. They have prepaid. Prepaid data is more expensive than contract data. It expires. So it's a discriminatory pricing, not simply just high pricing.
I see this constant battle of poor quality of service, dropped calls, bad reception. We've all experienced that. We've been fighting it for ages as well. And yet we continue to have to pay for services. We either get inferior service or these cell phone companies do not provide the service at all that we require.
And part of the reason why that's the case, Joanne, is because our regulators are not doing their job. We see across the state that one of the problems with governance is the regulation of the industries is just simply not there. So ICASA simply has failed. It is not pushing Vodacom, MTN, and Cell C, which are generally fairly monopolized, the sector. Telecom is the other player. But ICASA must push. The Parliament must realize that they have power, legislative power, to make these prices come down and stop just asking them to do the right thing. And we've seen that we're cross-subsidizing as well. So our cell phone companies in the rest of Africa, oftentimes the data prices are 1/5 to 1/10 of what they are in South Africa. And so we have South African consumers subsidizing the expansion of outside of our country, and that has to stop as well.
You're also looking at the issue of free numbers. At this point, when we've run out of data, we can still make a few emergency calls. Yeah. What do you want that extended?
We want it extended to, for example, there was a study that was done of rural South Africans that showed that the average poor rural South African household spends up to 20% of their annual budget on communications. That's incredible. You see everywhere, it's almost like your Vodacom shack is almost like a Coca-Cola everywhere in the rural areas to go buy the airtime. So what we're saying is schools, doctors, basic services, all these kinds of things, let those be free numbers, because people in rural areas and far-flung areas have to spend huge amounts of money simply to get the basic services. These are rights that we have in our Constitution of communication, and we must make them real. So our politicians must take this seriously. They must stop pontificating about, yes, we agree, and they must put in the legislation necessary to do this.
All right, let's see how this one pans out. Thank you very much for coming in to talk to us. Dale McKinley from Right2Know.